Small Business Boot Camp on this Tuesday morning, January 24th. I'm Robert Theobald, Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services here at the Arizona Commerce Authority. For those that are new, we like to start out by first recognizing all of our community partners. We couldn't do these boot camps without our community partners, their time, their effort, and their expertise. Also, those that are new to the boot camp is designed to help small businesses prepare, plan, and grow. And it is a statewide initiative supported by community partners from all corners of the state. And not only is it our Tuesday morning 9 a.m. webinar, the boot camp also consists of a content library and a series of workshops that we will talk about here in a moment. So let's jump into the content library. The content library is where we house all of the recordings of our webinars. So from the very beginning, we've recorded every webinar and we share those recordings in the content library so you can access them at any time. You can go back and find the ones you may have missed or topics that you're interested in that you didn't know we had done yet. So we have a lot of opportunity to go back and gain a lot of knowledge through this content library. There's over 250 recorded webinars in there that you can access, and you can see on the screen, you can sort by 7 different categories to help narrow it down to find the topics a bit easier. If for some reason you can't find it, feel free to reach out to me and I will guide you to a session or a topic that fits your needs. And if it's something we don't have, we're always looking for input. So you can share with us, hey, I didn't see this, and we'll look at trying to get a bootcamp webinar to fit that topic. So with that, the ACA has a number of other programs to help support small businesses. We have our small business services, our workforce division, and our Arizona MEP, our Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Additionally, for those entrepreneurs that are looking to start or grow their business in new areas, we have our small business checklist. And this is an online interactive tool that helps entrepreneurs understand the commonly requested licensing, registration, and compliance needs at the local, state, and federal levels. You can also find additional resources and information on business planning, marketing, procurement, and other topics in there as well. With that, we want to look at our upcoming sessions, and this is where we'll touch on the workshops here. So next Tuesday, we have the power of capital. We're excited about that one, learn how to leverage capital to grow your business. And then on the following Tuesday, on the 7th, we have successful metrics for traction. This is really about using metrics to hold yourself accountable for your growth and to set those goals to help you be successful. And then on February 9th is our first workshop this year. It is a lunch and learn workshop. And it's not just an hour webinar, but it is a 2 to 3 hour workshop. It'll be virtual through Zoom, but it is with the Department of Revenue and to help small business owners understand the business tax requirements in Arizona. So we're really excited about this session. It is through the education team at the Arizona Department of Revenue. So we hope you can join us for that. So with that, we want to jump into today's session. We have Jackie Lord, CEO and Executive Advisor at Elevate Consulting Group. We're excited to have Jackie with us. So Jackie, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn the time over to you so you can get going.
Wonderful, Robert. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Truly honored to be here this morning. I am an Arizona small business owner. As much as I live and breathe that every single day, I am equally passionate about helping other Arizona small business owners. I will tell you that over 90% of my clients are Arizona small business owners. So right there with you in the trenches, really helping you get to a place to really align people with profit. So we're going to dig into this today. Really understanding how we align people with profit. Robert and Faith, again, thank you for having me here, and thank you for all that you do for the community. It is truly unbelievable and really moves the needle here in the Valley. So what are we going to do today? We're going to start talking about aligning people with profit. A little bit about myself. I am a recovering corporate executive of 17 years. I've worked for companies such as Amazon, Boeing, Make-A-Wish Foundation, JP Morgan Chase. Started my own consulting group 4 years ago to help as many businesses as possible. So on a mission to do that every single day. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And so again, truly honored to be here. Real quick, I'll explain this as I go through kind of the survey results for those of you who completed a survey. But just as a heads up, right, this is a little bit of my background. So I have worked in 4 years with over 50 clients. On the left-hand side is just a little bit of my education and just some of the companies that I've worked with and for large scale as well as single individual startups. So kind of across the gamut. Again, love what I do. I'm just in the business of people. All right, a little bit about my core values and how I approach aligning people with profit that will really kind of guide us through the rest of the presentation. So first and foremost, I truly believe there are no mistakes in people. Everybody is hardwired to bring a certain superpower and capability into the world. Everybody has their own beauty, everybody has their own uniqueness, and really how do we align that person or individual in regards to building and growing businesses, right? So we're going to kind of bridge that gap. Secondly, business owners have a critical responsibility that is sometimes often forgot. And this is to create an environment where your team can thrive, right? So one of my favorite quotes of all time from John Mackey, who's the Whole Foods market CEO, he said, if you are lucky enough to be someone's employer, then you have a moral obligation to make sure people look forward to coming to work in the morning, right? Like, holy cow. First of all, does small business owners, do you get up in the morning and say, yes, you know, I've got employees, right? It's kind of crazy to think of it like that, right? This is truly a leadership role that you have employees. This is a true blessing. But now he says, very strong words, you have a moral obligation to make sure they look forward to coming to work in the morning, right? And this kind of plays into leadership as a responsibility, right? It's not about being in charge. Often we talk about being in charge, being that role model, making sure people are held accountable, making sure we're checking boxes and pushing out deliverables. But really, it's about taking care of the people in your charge, right? So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, some data today on how we accomplish really this critical responsibility. Lastly, and what I'm going to kind of really focus on today is to know thyself first, right? So self-awareness is the key to everything in leadership. Why am I talking about leadership so much when this presentation is called Aligning People with Profit, right? Because leadership effectiveness and how you engage, motivate, and communicate with your team is a direct impact to your P&L. We'll kind of walk through that, but really we're going to focus on today on self-awareness. So for those of you who took the survey, I really appreciate it. Just kind of some pre-work. I sent it out this morning. So if you guys can have those open as well, as we kind of go through the presentation, it will be helpful. If you did not complete the survey, no worries. You can complete it after this presentation, but it will also provide kind of a framework for you to follow along. Right. So next is platinum rule versus golden rule, right? This plays into self-awareness. So what I mean by that is I don't teach my leaders and business owners, right, to treat other as they want to be treated, right? We don't do that anymore. That doesn't work. What we teach is the platinum rule, which is do unto others as every single one of your employees needs and wants to be treated. So how do they want and need to be treated? We've got data on that now, right? So we kind of remove some emotion, some personal bias, and some intuition. And we really use data to understand how to take our employees and our business to the next level. All right, I like to say that a company on the weekend is just a building, right? We are people. A business is a conglomerate of people. The foundation is people. If you have successes in your business, it is because of people. If you have challenges in your business, it is because of people, right? People are the differentiator. So one of my two favorite quotes, I mean, we got Steve Jobs and Jim Collins here, right? But Steve Jobs said, Go after the cream of the cream, right? A small team of A+ players can run circles around a giant team of B and C players, right? Was just meeting with one of my clients today, earlier this morning, on the East Coast, and they mentioned the manager of the engineering group, right? Said this is the best output we've ever had in this department, right? They've also tripled their headcount in order to get the same amount of output as they did 3 years ago, right? So understand that we really want those A players. When you have A players on the team, you have kind of that right person in the right seat that is not only happy and engaged and productive, but also contributes to the overall growth and scalability of the business. Management guru Jim Collins, right? He said, this is super powerful, right? The single biggest constraint on the success of his organization was the ability to get and hang on to enough of the right people, right? Oftentimes we focus on hiring, right? That seems like the hardest aspect we're doing. Hiring is only 10% of the equation, right? We need to make sure we now retain, motivate, understand, and communicate with our employees to make sure we keep them engaged. All right, some kind of breaking news really in regards to Forbes output, one of their new articles that is the #1 trend amongst leaders in 2023, which is the emergence of this post-COVID leader, right? So now what they're focusing on is saying the #1 trend is going to be leadership built on a foundation of emotional intelligence. This is about bringing the human aspect back to the business. Why is this so important, right? This is kind of this post-COVID era that we're living in. The human, the connection, now merging the line between work and personal on LinkedIn. This is the trend that we're aiming towards. This is going to be key, right? And the key here, as mentioned, is self-awareness. So how do we increase our emotional intelligence, right? I have data to give you insight on how to increase your emotional intelligence. We don't need years of training, therapy, reading podcasts, reading books. We also have an instant access to how your employees, your people, your other leaders are hardwired, and how we can increase our emotional intelligence very quickly in a business. All right, so let's kind of, head down the path on now. Let's talk about individual businesses, right? We talked about trends. I'm on my soapbox of why I do what I do and why I love what I do, but let's talk about what is actually going on possibly in your business. So just identifying some top challenges, right? Hiring, right? Definitely a challenge. Sales revenue growth, right? Just straight revenue growth in the business. Increasing leadership effectiveness and engaging talent, often a challenge. Low productivity of employees. We'll get into that in a couple slides on how impactful this is. Maybe you're having a lack of top line revenue growth, right? Or your profit margins are too low. You as a business owner, business leader, maybe you're stressed or wearing too many hats, right? We talk about how to solve this. On the other hand, maybe your business is growing. Maybe you're doubling your business this year, or you doubled it last year, right? Now we have good pains, right? We've got problems, but we've got good problems. Turnover, one of the single most expensive items that doesn't show up on your P&L, right? We'll talk through those numbers. Succession planning, right? Do you want your son or daughter to take over the business? Do you want to sell the business in 2 or 3 years? Do you want to run 4 other businesses? Do you want this business to run on its own? Who's going to be the next layer of leadership inside your business, right? So really thinking forward in succession planning. Maybe your business is organizationally unstructured, or it's unscalable, right? You can't even bring in more revenue because you can't handle the business, as well as culture and employee issues. So, question for you guys. What do these all have in common? Right? It's a little bit of a format, right, with the Q&A, but what do these all have in common? These are all people-related issues. Every single one is people related. Every single business challenge can be traced back to people. Okay, so we're going to keep walking through that. All right, so this is the number that gets me out of bed every single morning. Only 13% of employees in the United States on average are actively engaged, right? So that tells me only 13% are actively engaged. That is true high productivity, high P&L impact, right? So I was the statistic, right? The opposite one for 17 years in my corporate role for a long time, right? So 87% are either engaged, disengaged, or actively disengaged. This hurts the soul of your employee. This hurts the soul of you as a business owner, right? If you are not actively engaged, right? So I'm on a mission to single-handedly increase this number in the United States, one company at a time, right? Whatever it takes. But this is truly nauseating numbers. So how do we go about fixing this? We'll kind of touch on that in a couple of slides. So a couple extra things down here I want to mention. 51% of workers are actively looking for a new job. I will tell you, of your employees in your business, statistically, 50% are actively interviewing, right? We now have data to see who are those folks, right? Monster.com says 95% of workers are actively looking for a new job, right? We're in a competitive market. There's a war on talent. How do we keep and retain A players inside our businesses? We've all seen this before, right? Why do people quit their jobs? Right? We've all heard the boss, right? Second reason is coworkers. Third, culture, work-life balance. And then 4, money. So what are we looking at here, right? People quit people, right? So we need to get this people equation correct inside our businesses. A lot of my business owners or clients will say, you know, they left for more money. All 3 of these had to happen first before they leave for more money. People will stay in your business for less money if they are engaged and they're productive and they are checked in. All right, let's talk about the $1 million problem, right? This is a very, very expensive one. Let's talk about the cost of turnover. So let's just break this down for 1 minute, right? So after 1 year of this person being in your business, it is estimated that the cost of this one individual is 5 times the salary. This is a conservative number. Let's walk through this. Let's say you've hired someone with a $50,000 salary and they leave after 1 year. So 50 times 5, right? $250,000 total expenses. How in the heck do we get to this high of a number, right? So let's break it down. Cost of time. Are we quantifying your time? Mr. and Miss Business Owner, how much is your time worth, right? So we're talking about interviewing, resume filtering, a lack of productivity, training them, onboarding them, right? All of this is a cost of time we don't actually draw out and quantify. Secondly is money, right? Any recruiting fees, job posting fees on top of their salary, and if they are paying benefits, right? If you are. And most importantly is opportunity cost. Let's say you want to double your business this year. You need maybe an outside sales person, right? Engaging, captivating outside salesperson to really grow your business. This is pure revenue. But let's say without data and without really understanding someone's hardwired traits, we hire someone who has the profile of an inside salesperson, right? But we ask them to do outside sales activities. What will happen is this inside salesperson will bring in maybe $100,000 in revenue. You're like, great, right? At least they're bringing in something, at least they're paying for their salary. However, if you hired a true outside salesperson, you could have increased your business. They could have brought in $500,000 that year because that is the true right person in the right seat for the needs of the role, right? So now we have a $400,000 opportunity gap, right? So things we don't always think about when we're looking at turnover, right? And really, it's too expensive to get wrong. It's frustrating. This person is disengaged. You're spending a lot of time trying to coach them. And then this person ends up leaving. So sanity, cost of time, cost of money, opportunity costs, it's just too expensive to get wrong, right? So why are we talking about aligning people with profit? This is a huge hit to your profit turnover, right? So it's worth ensuring that we're getting this right. Why do I call this this $1 million problem? If you have 4 folks with the same salary turnover, that's $1 million in expenses, right? Between cost of time, money, and opportunity cost. So this is very expensive. We don't see cost of turnover on our P&L, but this is costing you a lot of money. If you think about it as well, taking 2 steps forward, turnover and low productivity will have you go 2 steps back, right? So how do we build a scalable, profitable model to grow the business? All right, this will be my favorite slide. These are really exciting numbers and then also really terrifying numbers. Let's say you have 5 folks on your team, right? If they all have high level engagement, checked in, productive, right person in the right seat, you're actively engaging with them and motivating them to their own needs, right? It's half them as much as it is you. Then you will get a 19% increase in revenue and a 28% increase in profit. This is why we need to align people with your profit, with your P&L, right? Oftentimes we just think of people as culture and a lot of immeasurable goals, but these are true numbers from Gallup. Now, let's say we have the same 5 folks in your business and all of them have low level engagement, right? We're going to talk about the other extreme here. If you still have those 5 people with low level engagement, this is a hit now to your revenue and your profit, right? 33% decrease in revenue and 11% decrease in profit, right? As well, this low level engagement, this tells me this employee is not happy, right? This employee maybe having to take a shot of something to go into work. I've heard it all, right? So this human being is not happy, and this is killing your scalability and profitability. All right, so what are we doing here, right? What are the 5 pillars that we focus on how to align people with profit, right? So my goal of this presentation is to have you maybe think a little bit differently about how you're approaching your employees, how you're building out your business from an org chart perspective, right? Adding that human element to your business. We are a business of people. So if we could just change your mind on one little thing, provide value on one little item, we've found success and value today. So what are we looking at in the 5 pillars, right? Number 1 is we want to make sure you have the right people in the right seats currently on the bus, currently on your team. Are people checked out, disengaged? Are we having those low engagement numbers that are hurting your profitability and scalability, right? We want to take an audit of what's actually going on from a people perspective. Secondly, is we use this as a strategic hiring tool, right? We want to make sure now going forward, we get the right people in the right seats so that we don't have to have this turnover, low productivity, right? Beating our heads against the wall, right? So we want to make sure we get it right coming in the door. Employee onboarding and integration, right? People learn 2 complete different ways. How are we onboarding them? How are we making them successful? Right? Has anybody onboarded a new employee and they leave after a month? Right? We can talk about why, right? Are you onboarding and integrating them in the way that they learn? Second, right? In the 2-part series, these bottom 2, retaining critical and key talent. We just worked our butts off to hire and find the right person, right? This is not an easy process. This takes time, energy. So we just found the right person. How do we retain that person? How do we engage them? This is 90% of the P&L impact, right? Of aligning people with profit. First making sure you have the right person in the right seat, right? And then secondly, increasing the last one, your intentional effective leadership. speaking their language, understanding them, communicating with them, managing to their needs, right? Self-awareness as a leader. All right, so I'm going to open it up, and I want everyone to write in the chat or Q&A what you guys look for in your employee hiring process, right? So whether you're looking when you're in an active interview, whether you're looking at a resume, tell me what you look for when you're looking to hire an employee. And I want to look for about 15 items here. What are we looking for, and what are we judging folks on if they should be hired into our business? Great, right? So I'm just going to start reading these as we go through these. How long they've been in their past positions, experience, right? Personality, emotional intelligence, humble, hungry, smart, excellent. Passion, willingness to learn, curiosity, right? Education, experience. Love this. Energy, responsiveness, character, integrity, consistency, capabilities, knowledge, eagerness, historical job experience. What about the color of their shoelaces? Right? Does that matter to us? First impression, how they're dressed, how they present, right? We talk about education and experience, so either in the interview process or through resumes. Does anybody use references? Right? References are also part of the process sometimes. References are usually calling a list of their best friends. Right? So what do we notice with this list? How much of the list that was provided, thank you, by the way, is subjective? How do we define passion? That passion is defined by that person who is doing the interviewing process. Passion can look differently, right? Experience and education. I will tell you, resumes are 100% subjective. Right? Again, references, right? A willingness to learn. How are you defining that? How are you looking at that in the interview process, right? So the whole point being here is that everything we're doing when we're looking for employees is completely subjective and based upon personal bias, right? We also tend to hire people like ourselves. I've had some CEOs or some business owners say, hey, I only look for people who are proactive, like me, right? But what if we're actually needing 100% reactive profile for this position, right? Also, people will behavior modify. We'll get into what that means. People behavior modify the most in their entire life in an interview. So the person you're trying to pick up on is literally having an out-of-body experience while sitting in front of you. This doesn't allow us to really drill in on education, experience, knowledge, right? As much as morals, values, and culture fit. We have to spend all of our time trying to figure out who this person is. But every single response and every single impression is going to be subjective with personal bias and that person having an out-of-body experience. Also, anybody who has high social ability, so if everyone has their survey pulled up as well, anyone that has a yellow dot to the right of their red arrow on the top, anyone that has high social ability, they will sell you in the interview process, right? So it's about understanding who's in front of us and if they're hardwired for the needs of this role inside your business. A couple best practices before we kind of dig into the nitty-gritty, right, that I want to share with you. What are the 5 key elements to an attractive job description, right? Number 1, we just talked about this person having an out-of-body experience and having no data in the entire interview and onboarding process, right? So having some aspect of data. There's over 600 assessment tools out there. You can find your friend's character, you can find your Harry Potter character, but in all reality, right, at least apply some data to the process. Secondly, an overview of your company and the position. Get very clear on your core values. Explain your business, right? So say we're a fast-growing business, right? This new project manager is critical to the growth of our business. Explain the importance. People want to know how they fit in. Get very, very, very clear on your core values and only hire to those. Third, a list of hardwired needs. What does that mean, right? Oftentimes we'll just list out the responsibilities and tasks as is shown in item number 4. Again, I've seen job descriptions with 30 responsibilities and tasks. Just limit to 10 bullet points, right? Consolidate. But we usually just list out what this person will be doing. We don't necessarily list out, do we need a team player or a team leader? Do we need someone project focused or task focused? Do we need someone with an analytical mind? Or do we need someone interacting with empathy and relational equity with our customers, right? What about the pace that somebody wants to work, right? What if we need a more routine, methodical, hardwired person in the way they approach their work? Or maybe we need someone who could juggle 40 different clients at once, right? Do we need someone that has attention to detail, accuracy, and follow through, right? So really getting really clear on what are the behavior behind the needs of these responsibilities and tasks in this position. And then lastly, qualifications, right? Oftentimes I see in here 5 years of experience, right? Maybe we need a new customer service manager, right? Then we want minimum 5 years of experience. I will tell you certain people, you will need 5 years of experience, and other folks only need 2 years of experience in order to be able to approach the role in the same manner. So years of experience are kind of subjective as well, right? So we talk about where that really matters and where that's needed. We can't hire, it's hard to find experience, right? So we hire to the personality, to the profile, and then we train the rest. Looking for best practices, right, in recruiting. I'm not a recruiter, right? But we are in the business of getting the right people in the right seats to radically grow and scale the business, right? So again, that job description. Has anyone thought of job description as the #1 recruiting tool for your entire business? Right? Oftentimes we just think it as a job posting, but it is the #1 recruiting tool. It's the first thing people see when they're looking at your business, right? It's essential to get this right. Additional recruiting tips, best practices across really kind of the 50 clients that I've had the privilege to work with. Internal employee referral program. You already have believers, right? So, and you will find those folks who are on the same page as them. How would you recruit if your website and online job board did not exist, right? I say sometimes it makes us a little lazy. You put it out there. What about tapping your network, your LinkedIn, right? My grandfather always said it's not about what you know, it's who you know. So making sure we're still actively looking for this. LinkedIn premium searches, right? So if you have a premium membership, you can type in sales manager plus Phoenix and see who is looking for a position in Phoenix with that title, right? So just a way to be more active and proactive in the search rather than, again, just putting the job description out there. Lastly is we're in an interesting environment now where we need to sell our business as much as, quote unquote, the interviewee is trying to sell themselves, right? There is a war on talent. There is a lot of positions open. There is a lot, I mean, go on LinkedIn. Thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of positions out there. So we need to make sure that we are selling our position, right? Selling our company, if you really think about it from that. All right. So kind of starting to get into the nitty gritty and really how we understand hardwired traits. So for those folks who have their surveys, please pull them up and we will be referencing them. For those of you that don't have a survey completed, no worries at all. You can still follow along. I recommend you start to kind of identify your own hardwired traits as we go through kind of the surveys. But let's talk about this intentional and effective leadership, right? A very streamlined way to keep your key talent engaged is you have to treat, right, this platinum rule, right? We don't do golden rule stuff. People's confidence comes from 3 different places, right? Someone with high A, we'll get into what that means. Their confidence comes from themselves. Someone with B as their highest trait, this tells me confidence comes from people and others. And D, right, their confidence will tell me it comes from their knowledge and experience. Isn't that important to understand where the confidence of your employee comes from? What about the confidence of yourself, right? Again, self-awareness. Right? So we talk about how you keep this key talent engaged. This is, again, how you're aligning people with the profit, right? Beyond profit, right? This is why this is why I don't start with I'm aligning profit with people, right? This is aligning people, human beings, right? This moral obligation we have to make sure they enjoy coming to work in the morning. The way we do that is to understand them. Again, so trying to remove that emotion and that personal bias out of the equation, and now saying, this is actually how this person is hardwired. This is what drives them. This is how you lead them, right? This is how you increase productivity and scalability, right? This is how you decrease turnover. Again, I mentioned that employee onboarding, right? So the relationship here, we'll get into what these dots mean, but just an overview, right, is that people learn and onboard 2 complete different ways, right? The person you're onboarding or training may not learn like you do. So really important to understanding, how am I going to make sure this employee is successful from the minute they walk in the door? All right, we're all going to do a quick handwriting exercise. If everyone can grab just a scratch paper, a notebook, any piece of paper, and a pen. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to get a hold of that. All right, so if everybody can write their name 3 times. All right, so we're going to do the same exercise again. And if everybody, again, can take that paper and that pen and write their name again 3 times, but switch hands. All right, did anybody's second attempt with their non-dominant hand look like kindergarten, maybe 1st, 2nd grade? So in the chat, if you guys can tell me what you noticed when you switched hands. Took longer, right? More time, frustration, more focus, very unnatural. Excellent. What about more concentration? What about quality? Did quality go down? Hideous and unclear. Right. So you're frustrated, more energy, more focus, unnatural, increased concentration. all for a very low quality, very low productivity product, right? So that is exact. Thank you so much for the response. I love the hideous, right? So what is the point here, right? We don't want our employees, and we don't want even yourselves as a business owner writing with our non-dominant hand every single day at work, right? We don't want to have an out-of-body experience. It is painful. It is quote unquote hideous, right? It is a lot of effort, stress, frustration, right? For a low quality outcome. It's a lose-lose, right? Nobody wins here. The human being doesn't win. And now the work that they're working on and the ability to contribute to a scalable, profitable organization does not win. We want every single employee, including yourself, most importantly, including yourself, to be writing with their dominant hand every single day. So let's talk about what that looks like. All right, so what are we doing here, right? So we're looking at two graphs. Again, for those that have the output, please follow along. For those of you who do not, this is still going to be value add. So we're looking at two graphs. First and foremost, the top graph is survey traits. What does this mean? This is hardwired traits. We are measuring 7 work-related traits. These are 100% solidified by the age of 12 to 16 years old. These will never, ever change. This is how you are hardwired to behaviorally navigate the world. This is your writing with your dominant hand. This is who you are through and through, right? The bottom graph, if you remember the second question, says, who do you need to be successful in your current position? So this will tell us what is going on in your current position. This will tell us, right, any behavior modification. If anyone is having to write with a non-dominant hand, this is not fun, this is not winning, and this is not contributing to the P&L of your business, right? So we need to take a look at what is going on. Is this a reflection of the boss? First and foremost, are you incorrectly managing and motivating this employee, right? Or the team, maybe there's a lack of team around this person. When I see my small business owners having any behavior modification below, I will say, you're missing an element on the team around you. You're as strong as the team around you, and there's something you're missing that we can identify. Also, the responsibilities, right? So if you break it down from an actual fundamental perspective, do we have the right person in the right seat? Do we have this person writing with their dominant hand every single day? Or are we asking them to write with their non-dominant hand every single day? Kind of inhumane, right? All right, so these are the 7 hardwired traits that we measure. I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker, but really, if you don't have your survey, start to identify what you would resonate with as I go through them, right? So I'm going to go through them one by one, and please follow along in your survey. So red arrow, right? If you have an A dot to the right of your red arrow, doesn't matter where the red arrow is in the top graph, this tells me you have higher autonomy. What is autonomy? What are we actually measuring in regards to the workplace? What we're measuring is mental initiative. If you break down the word autonomy, right? So anyone with an A to the right, or anyone that resonates with higher autonomy, this is someone who is more project macro focused. This is someone who is more proactive because they are forward thinking and pushing the needle. This is the gas pedal in the business. This is someone who is more independent. Let me tell you, for all you high A's out there, you cannot manage them. They have to be led, right? They need to be in control of their own destiny. If you have a high A on your team and you're managing them instead of leading them, right, this is going to lead to disengagement, checked out, turnover, right? So really understanding our employees on a whole different level to help us increase our leadership effectiveness and help increase their output. These guys are strategic, forward thinking, right? This is what I call kind of that leader from the front feel. Two different types of leaders. Let's talk about that low A now, right? There's pluses and minuses to either side, every single dot, every single location, right? So let's talk about what is the power here in a low A. So low A, if you think about it now, it's autonomous, us, right? This is not that independent leader moving forward, not checking behind them, right? This is now someone who is a wolf pack. This is a team player, right? This is 80% of Navy SEALs. This is that team player mentality, right? So making sure, right, the vision and the strategy of the entire business is being executed. I call these folks living in reality, and this one living in the future, right? So these are the folks on the ground with the boots. This is consensus building. Again, this is wolf pack. This is more of tasks, execution focus, rather than this high level project macro focus, right? This is more living in that reality. I call this a leader from the back, right? This is making sure everybody is moving forward. Two complete different types of leaders, both effective, but understanding, do you have that right person in the right seat, right? Do you have a project manager that is more task focused, right? Do you have, someone executing tasks that are now with the project or macro brain, right? So understanding the value and the beauty of every single person and making sure it's aligned to the business needs in that position. Let's move on to B. So with B, we're measuring social ability. What is social ability? We're actually measuring the needing, seeking, and wanting of social acceptance, right? We're also measuring how it relates to the workplace. Someone with a high B, right? Maybe more kind of that charismatic, we can call it extrovert. Extrovert actually only means external processing of your thoughts and ideas, right? This is someone who is naturally empathetic, intuitive, right? This is the people glue in your business. These people look at your business like family. This is not just a job. This is family. What is the value here as well, right? These are people leaders. This is sales. This is business development. This is excellent customer service and client retention, right? I like to call my high Bs kind of that golden retriever feel. Low Bs, equally important. What is the value here, right? These folks are now looking to interact with other humans to exchange information, trust, and credibility. These folks are more introspective. What does that mean? What that means is actually internally processing someone's thoughts and ideas, right? So this creates a more analytical mind. This is more technical, right? I say when a low B talks, listen to them. They are truth tellers. Sometimes come across as a little more direct, a little bit more reserved, right? So kind of call this kind of joking as a cat, right? More reserved, more analytical, just for fun. These folks are looking to establish connection and acceptance with other human beings. These folks are looking to establish information, exchange, trust, and credibility. Two complete different ways of interacting, right? So what does this position need? What does it say about yourself and self-awareness, right? What does your company need in what position? Again, we talked about that cost of turnover, right? Where we talk about these sales profiles. I focus a lot on revenue growth, right? Some folks are hardwired for revenue growth. This is that proactive outside revenue growth. Other folks are hardwired for internal relationship nurturing, both completely value added to the business, just two completely different human beings, right? If we want to sell, if we want to really grow your business revenue wise, you're going to need someone with this profile, right? We're going to need someone that's that independent outside hunter with a high B, right? On the other end, right? This is now more of a farmer, right? Nurturing client or customer relationships. You could even call it even upselling, right? But this is a completely different person. This sometimes will be confusing to you because they're both extroverted. They both have that high B, but it really matters where that A is, where that autonomy is, right? In regards to its effectiveness and inside versus outside. Two complete different human beings. This is critical for revenue growth in the business. All right, Let's talk about work pace, right? This is the blue dot. If you have your blue dot to the right of your red arrow, or if you can identify this in yourself, right? We're measuring work pace here, the pace at which this person or yourself needs and wants to work. If someone has higher patience, right? Higher work pace, right? This is now telling us, again, patient and laid back, more chill, right? This person prefers more methodical, singular work, rinse and repeat. Think of it as a think tank. Think of it as engineering kind of mind, right? One singular focus at a time. Don't interrupt this person a million times. Don't stress this person out. Let them stay in their completely unhurried, clear focus. That is the value that they're going to bring to themselves and the business. Low C's, right? These folks, we can call them impatient, right? They have a high sense of urgency. They need and seek and want variety in their everyday work. They want to juggle things, a couple plates in the air spinning at the same time, right? This is more someone who is fast-paced. They need and want multitasking, right? If you have a fire drill that needs handling immediately, we give it to our low C's, right? Don't interrupt the thought process of the high C. It's going to mess up the entire balance. Right? Can you kind of see yourself in one of these? Usually becomes very clear on kind of the way you prefer to work. Maybe you prefer to be more of a think tank and think through, but the pace at which your business is growing is requiring you to kind of behavior modify and act more like a low C, right? Again, now starting to write with a non-dominant hand. Conformity, this is a huge one, right? Conformity, what are we measuring here? We are measuring conformity to rules, policies, and procedures. We're also measuring attention to detail, execution, and follow through. Sounds a little bit important inside a business, right? This is what I call the brake pedal in the business, right? This is someone who's going to be, who has higher conformity. This is someone, obviously, a conformist, needs, seeks, and wants rules, policies, and procedures. This person is detailed, accurate, precise, right? This person can recite almost every single historical information. This is someone who is a subject matter expert in something, right? These are the controls of your entire organization. We need a business of mostly high Ds. We need someone paying attention, following through, entering the information into the CRM system correctly, right? We want a business of high Ds once you get down into the business. Let's talk about low Ds. What's the value and beauty here, right? This is a nonconformist, right? Maybe sometimes stop signs are just a suggestion, right? These are people who are a bit more now conceptual rather than detailed in the way they interact and speak, right? These are folks who live in the moment, maybe a little bit more rebellious. This creates for more out of the box and creative thinking, right? So this is how I like to say no one changed the world by playing it safe. That is more of that low D mentality, right? Delegates. If there's a low D leader, have to have a high D around them in order to function and operate. If anyone is a low D business owner or leader, right, cannot live without a high D around us. You will only be as successful as your ability to successfully delegate and have that rock and that stability and that person who's got that follow through. Let's look at logic now, right? Now we're looking at that purple dot. So what are we actually measuring with logic, right? We are measuring someone's ability to express control over their emotions in the decision-making process. This is not empathy. This is not emotional intelligence, right? This is not self-awareness. This is just how much emotion is in the decision-making process. If someone is a 0, 1, or 2, the first filter is emotion, right? This is more feeling with the heart. This is more passion. This is wearing your heart on your sleeve, right? Let's talk about the complete other end, right? Let's talk about a 9 or a 10. I like to joke and I say this is someone like Spock or Sheldon, right? Someone who is able to take every single emotion out of the decision-making process and apply logical black and white information to make decisions, right? So understanding not only your own self-awareness, right? Hey, where do we need to stop and apply more logic to a business decision? Or even the other way, hey, where do I need to stop and apply more emotion to my decision-making process as a leader, right? So again, self-awareness is key, and then having the awareness and understanding of your employees. Ingenuity, right? So what we're measuring here is pure, inventive, abstract thought, right? So once you get to about 7 or 10, right, this is where it really kicks in. From a 0 to a 3, I like to say this is like Starbucks, right? So what we're talking about here is you may not invent a cup of coffee, but you're going to take a cup of coffee and make it bigger, better, faster, stronger, right? You're going to put it on every corner of the world. 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So 9 and 10, we start to get into Elon Musk, very inventive, abstract, spatial thought. This is also songwriters, right? This is also artists, right? This is also patent owners, a lot of inventive thought. This is also applicable in marketing and advertising, right? So where do we need this in our business? And do you already have it in your business? And how do you utilize it, right? Lastly, and one of the most important things that we measure that no other tool out there measures is mental stamina. So this is that little EU number that you see. And all we're measuring here, if you look at it in and of itself, is we're measuring your ability to behavior modify for how long. So we're measuring energy units. So 20 to 40 is really average, right? So I say average gallons of gas in the tank. And again, by itself, it is not that significant of a number. It is the difference between the top and the bottom, as you can kind of see in my graphs. So what does this mean? So on the left here, right, we have someone writing in their right hand, and you can see just visually below that this person is now writing with their non-dominant hand every single day, right? This person is completely disengaged, right? Checked out. Maybe you're paying them $75,000. They're probably giving you $30,000 worth of work, plus they're not happy. I will tell you also, when this drops by 10 or more, from 62 to 51 or down even more, this is a flight risk for your business. So how, if this is an A player, how do we keep this in our business? We now have a decoder into ourselves and into our employees. Let's quickly talk about the other way, right? So let's say you go up by 10 or more. This will tell us there's now another check engine light going off in yourself or in your employee. This will now tell me overutilization. What does that mean? Let's say you have 35 gallons of gas in your tank every single day and you're using 51 because you have to have an out-of-body experience to do this job, right? So this is where disengagement occurs, lack of productivity, turnover. This is where we have to look down to the individual human level to understand the P&L impact and the human impact, right? Adding that human element, emotional intelligence back into the business. Right? So quick review. The A is the gas pedal, right? This is that person who is strategic and visionary, pushing the business forward. They live in the future. That is the value and the superpower they bring. Someone with the B is the highest. This is the people glue, right? This is culture. This is people leadership. This is passion, right? Some people will say passion. This is more apparent than somebody with a low B. So low B may not show as much passion, but may be as equally passionate. So how do we define passion? And then D, right? This is the brake pedal. Hey, we got to stop and build out a scalable operational business. So the ideal business trifecta, right? So each organization has its own optimal combination. But if you don't have enough gas, enough high A in your business, you might not be growing at the pace that you want to grow or can grow. If you're growing, but you're organizationally a mess, this means you don't have a scalable, profitable model. I will tell you right now, you don't have enough high conformity brake pedal in your business. And then lastly, if you have turnover, this tells me you don't have enough people glue. So we need all of these inside the business as you continue to build and scale, right? At the end of the day, we're building complements. You're as strong as the team around you. I kind of call this money ball for CEOs, right? How do we understand, build team dynamics, and really build complements to build and grow a business? All right, you guys have seen this list before. This is what we touched on, right? So when is data on people applicable to my business? This is everything we've already talked about on current business and organizational challenges, right? It is people who drive every aspect of your business, starting with yourself as the business owner and the leader. If anybody's interested, I've offered for the small business boot camp, right, to do a complimentary session to look at your employees, right? Anybody who wants to also look at their own surveys that didn't have a chance to complete it, right? But how is data going to be effective in really aligning your people with profit? Just offering a different view into how we can get very clear on aligning people with profit inside your business. So happy to help where I can, Robert, on that as well.
Excellent, thank you. We had two questions from Elaine. One was just a quick ask if this culture index that we're working through today is the same as a predictive index.
Okay, absolutely. Great. So predictive index is a completely different tool as culture index is. So yes, we all use an assessment. We need to talk about the accuracy of the data. So culture index is the most accurate tool out there. So we're using clean data in, clean data out. But I will tell you the difference between a tool like predictive index and culture indexes. We don't consider ourselves test jockeys or in the business of assessments. We are strategic CEO advisors. So I am a CEO and we apply strategy on how to grow your business. This is not a hiring tool per se. So that's really the main difference, is that it's a strategic growth tool versus just a hiring tool. And then when thinking about the 5 pillars of aligning people with profit, can you talk to me and how effective leaders should exit a disengaged, dissatisfied employee? Absolutely. So a couple things here is we want to actually get data on the human and understand why they are disengaged or are ineffective. I will tell you, you've already made that investment in that person. Is this worth saving? Can we find the right seat for that person? If not, then right, never in the business of getting rid of people. But if that person is not engaged in the role and there's no other role to move them into, right, then we always talk about what are the options from there. So great questions.
Excellent. And that is it for the questions. And we are right at town, just a couple minutes over. So we will go ahead and wrap up. But Jackie, thank you. Great presentation, great information. Again, I believe if you didn't do the survey that we sent out, you can go ahead and do that, and Jackie will get that back to you, that information. If you didn't get the survey, feel free to reach out to either of us and we'll get that to you. But we appreciate that, the information, the presentation today. We appreciate everybody attending and being here with us this morning, taking an hour out of your day. And we hope that you will join us next Tuesday for our next session. Until then, we want to wish everybody to have a great week, and we hope to see you next week. So with that, we'll say thank you and have a great day.